Hi, my name is Carrie Matthews. I am a certified nutrition consultant, and I've spent much of the last 10 to 12 years teaching nutrition classes and cooking classes, as well as helping individual clients with their own special dietary needs. Now, I personally advocate a plant-based whole foods diet and lifestyle in my own practice, and I want to talk about that and about the vegan and plant-based lifestyle from a few different perspectives today. First off, I want to share with you one of my favorite quotes. It's from Hippocrates. He wrote it back in 431 AD. Hippocrates is well known as the father of modern medicine. He said, "Let your food be your medicine, and your medicine be your food." I think that this was way ahead of his time, and it's a good foundational quote for us as we go forward. So what are the foundations of human nutrition? We all know we have to eat. Now we know generally that the elements of our foods are broken down into a few main groups. First of all, there are the macronutrients. Those are going to be our carbohydrates, our fats, and our protein, things that give us actual energy. Then there are also the micronutrients, which are our vitamins and our minerals. Vitamins are further broken down into the fat-soluble vitamins, which are A, D, E, and K, and water-soluble vitamins, which are the B and the C vitamins. The minerals are going to be things like the iron, the magnesium, the calcium, and so on. Our bodies also really need fiber. Fiber comes only from plants. There's both insoluble and soluble fiber. And what fiber does for us is it gives us the feeling of being full when we eat. It also helps to provide bulk to the food that we eat, so it helps our digestive system to keep moving and to keep cleaned out. It also has the ability to attract toxins and take those out of the body, as well as providing a home for the microbiome or the flora or the bacteria, the good bacteria that live in our guts and our digestive tracts. So that's a very important aspect of our diets. One other aspect that we want to talk about is the phytonutrients or phytochemicals. This is just coming into the foreground here in the last few years. There's been a lot of research about it. These are things like the antioxidants, for example. They are the properties in the food that we eat, only the plants that we eat, I should say, which provide the plant with color, flavor, and smell. And these also have many healing and protective properties for our bodies when we consume those phytonutrients. Now, before we go forward, I just want to talk about two really important things to keep in mind. First of all, I believe that when it comes to nutrition, it's best to have a healthy lifestyle consistently instead of following this diet or that diet. Diets as such can feel like we are walking a tightrope or kind of in a box of I have to, or I'm not allowed to, or I can't. And in contrast to that, we can have a healthy, moderate, realistic lifestyle, which gives us stability to have true health, and it's really freeing in that sense. Another important thing to remember is that our food choices have density, either energy content or nutrition content. So you may have heard of the phrase empty calories. That's basically high energy, high calorie, low nutrient foods. Think here about junk food, fried foods, processed foods, and so on. The better bet, in contrast to this, is going to be the nutrient dense but low energy foods. This is especially true if you're trying to lose weight or if your body is trying to heal. And more specifically today, we want to talk about a plant-based or a vegan lifestyle. I personally have been vegetarian all my life. that was not something that was popular back in the 80s and 90s, I'll tell you that much. And I remember many people asking me, so what do you eat? Aren't you starving? Man, if I was a vegetarian, I would get tired of salads. I even was told several times, wow, you're a vegetarian? You actually look healthy. Back then, the stigma made me really self-conscious, and it wasn't until I was older and I studied the facts out for myself that I really had the confidence to stand for the way that I lived. And nowadays, I would not go back and change it for the world, and I'm really glad that my parents had the wherewithal to raise me and to teach me that lifestyle. Even today, the question is often asked, I get this one a lot, so what's the difference between a vegetarian and a vegan? To answer that very briefly, a vegetarian usually refrains from eating meat products, whereas vegans usually avoid all animal products, including the milk and the eggs. There are also different levels of vegan, if you will, and that's where the phrase plant-based comes in. Plant-based is essentially interchangeable with the phrase vegan, but a plant-based diet focuses more on the food and generally more from the nutrition aspect, while many strict vegans choose to avoid all animal products in every aspect of their lives, including leather and wool and so on. So veganism is usually practiced for three main reasons. First of all, there's the health reason. There are countless studies out there which have shown the benefits of a whole foods plant-based diet on health. It affects heart disease, diabetes, obesity, cancer, and many, many more health issues. And a little known fact is that surprisingly much of the world's population is actually lactose intolerant. You can see this on the diagram here, that the darker bands are areas where there's a higher percentage of lactose intolerance. That's usually in the third world countries, but even in the Western countries, Europe and America, there's like a 20 to 30% lactose intolerance rate. And this just really shows that our bodies are not made to consume dairy products after the first few years of life, because after those first few years of life, our bodies actually stop making the enzyme to digest lactose. Many people become vegans also for environmental or ethical reasons, and this we can see on the next diagram here. This shows how if we were to divide all of the farming land on Earth per person, we would each have about 1/3 of a soccer field to grow our food on, and that's depicted by the red line. Now, it's possible to do this and to survive on 1/3 of a soccer field if you're eating a plant-based diet. You can see that with the gray sections. But because raising animals takes more land space than growing fruits and vegetables, you can see that as soon as we start adding meat to the diet, we also start eating into our neighbor's land, so to speak. We may not feel this here in the more Western societies, but I think it's really important to remember that other people are affected by our life and our food choices. In addition, meat production uses many times more water than plant food production. For example, a pound of beef usually takes about 1,800 gallons of water to produce, whereas a loaf of bread comes in at about 240, and a pound of corn at about 170 gallons. And that's not to mention the extra methane gas that's produced by livestock. And we won't go into depth about this here, and I'm not going to discuss a lot about the ethical reasons and issues about meat and dairy production, but it's definitely something to think about. There are several documentaries out there if you want to research more that have some really good information about this, especially about the common farming practices. For myself, I really believe that the answer is in living a life of compassion as much as we can in every area possible. Now, I completely admit that veganism is not the only answer. but what we eat is a big part of the puzzle. And it's something that I think is both important and a lot of fun to explore. I have a blast creating new recipes and using new ingredients and trying new things. And I think it can be a really fun change if we just open our minds to it. You know, growing up as a vegetarian and a vegan, I often felt like the outsider. I actually felt really shy and ashamed of my lifestyle. I had no idea that I was actually in really good company. People like Albert Einstein, Leonardo da Vinci, Pythagoras, Buddha, Gandhi, many of the ancient gladiators were vegetarians or vegans. And even people like Paul McCartney, Leonardo DiCaprio. Today, the lifestyle is gaining more popularity and momentum. So why not try it out? Why not join in? For the planet's sake, for our society's sake, for our own well-being, it's worth a shot. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was informative, and if you have any nutrition questions or topic requests, please let us know, and thanks for watching.